After pulling into the far slot in the garage, I hit the close button on my remote. The garage door slowly shut out the sunset as I gathered my briefcase and phone. David's car hood was warm, so I knew he hadn't been here that long. Entering the house, I saw a glass of Chablis waiting for me. Kicking off my heels, I set my briefcase on the kitchen table and took a sip. The view was magnificent, as was the taste of this wine. As I entered the living room, I announced my arrival. "Are you upstairs?" I announced. "About time. The bathtub is filling. Did you see the glass of wine on the counter?" "Not only did I see it, it's already half gone. I hope you have the bottle up there. Ready or not, here I come. Did you remember to pick up the lube?" I asked. "Duh! And risk missing out? Get serious!" Bouncing up the stairs, I found David in his birthday suit. I set my glass of wine down so I could unbutton my blouse. With his mouth opened wide, he waited for me to undress myself. Once the clothes were off, we engaged in our usual night of infidelity. After doing the deed, I went to shower alone. After drying off, I put a robe on and found David in the kitchen. The sushi, recently delivered, was very filling. David does have exquisite taste in wine and food. He is such a confident man. He takes what he wants, and he wants me. There's something about the aura of power. David was spent, so we spent the rest of the evening catching up on work. Classical music had a calming effect on me. We spooned after retiring for the night. The alarm went off as scheduled. He showered in the guest bedroom while I did the same in the master bedroom. We left simultaneously with the intent of heading into work. David and I walked through the kitchen to get into the garage. He hit the button to open the double-wide garage door. Mine was the further car. As I was placing my briefcase in the passenger seat, I heard David scream, "What the hell is this?" I looked in my side rearview mirror and saw what looked like boxes and furniture. They were blocking both cars from getting out. "Damn it! We need to get into the office before 9. There's no way we can miss that meeting," David roared. I responded, "Whose stuff is this? Why is it here?" David snapped at me. "How in the hell am I supposed to know that?" I recoiled at the venom in his voice. "Damn! These boxes are all glued or taped together. This table has to weigh over 100 pounds. Then the aha moment hit me. That was my kitchen table, the one my grandmother had given us when Anton and I got married. My stomach clenched as I checked off all of the furniture belonging to me. The sofa and love seat from our front room, the dining room table and chairs. My guess was that the box springs and mattress must be from our master bedroom. The dresser mirror was smashed. Anton knew how much I loved that mirror. I couldn't hold it in. After sprinting to the side of the driveway, I puked. "What's your problem? I've called for a ride share to take us into the office. The app says it will be here in 10 minutes. If traffic goes smoothly, we'll still have about 30 minutes to get things set up before the meeting." "David, this is my stuff. Anton knows about us." "Oh God, I don't want a divorce," I wailed. "That's just great. We need to get this thing out of here before my wife gets home tonight," David answered. It was my turn to snipe. "Well, big shot. What kind of plan do you have? We need to be in that meeting, and if history repeats, we won't be done until about 3. That means someone else needs to move this." "Well?" David was on the phone again. He was stomping around near the road when he screamed, "Hell!" I knew better than to speak. He was beaten red as he marched towards me. "The main road is blocked. Some idiot crashed on the bridge. Red lines in both directions on maps. The ride share just canceled as it's almost 40 miles to get here using the alternate route." My phone dinged as an email arrived. It was from Anton, my husband of 10 years. The email wasn't addressed just to me, as I was one of about 50 CC'd parties. It was also sent to the president of the company we were meeting with this morning to discuss merger details. "Leah and David regret to inform you that they were so busy disrespecting their wedding vows that they failed to make appropriate contingency plans. Please see any of the videos attached to get a sample of what I'm talking about. Some of you will get to work with my attorney as we sort out who owes what. Regards, Anton Marino." For the second time in 5 minutes, I cleared my gut, this time down to the dry heaves. "What in the hell is your problem, woman?" David asked. "Check your email, jerk," I recoiled. After 15 seconds, he replied, "I'll kill that mother flipper." I stayed on my knees as I wasn't certain that I could balance on my wobbly legs. Anton was good. He was not just out of town, he was in London. At least that's what I thought. If he was, he'd arranged for someone to empty our house of my belongings and block David's garage door with them. The attached videos in the email were certain to get David and me fired. Two things I loved more than anything, my husband and my job, gone for a meaningless short-term affair. When my cell phone rang, it was my personal secretary. In my best cheery voice, I answered, "Good morning, Anne." "Not really, Leah. HR had security empty your office. When you arrive, your badge won't work. Security will come to get you. I hope it was worth it, Leah. Goodbye," she answered. My tear ducts were already sore, but something told me I was far from done crying. David yelled at me, "Uber has a car in the area. We can still get to the office by 10. I looked up with my mascara-stained face. "It doesn't matter, David. I've already been fired." "What are you talking about? How do you know that?" David asked. "Anne called me. Security emptied my office." "Have you even talked to anyone?" I asked. "No. I sent Brett a text saying our road was blocked. He had the meeting pushed back an hour. Hell, I guess I better check in," David answered. Body language told it all. From standing proud and confident to slumped shoulders and shuffling his feet while he trudged towards me. "Get your stuff off of my property," he roared. I was shocked at the tone of David's voice. His wild eyes had me thinking that he might get violent. I tried calling my brother to see if he could help. It went to messages. When I tried our best friends in the neighborhood, they hung up on me. It took about a dozen calls before my pastor said he would see what he could do. Reflecting on my poor choices, the next 15 minutes crawled by. David came out of the house. He smelled like booze. "I told you to get your stuff off of my property!" he roared once again. Raising my voice to the 3rd level, I answered, "I'm working on it! Back off!" The pastor called back and said a couple of guys would be here in about 90 minutes. When David reappeared an hour later, he was drunk. Worse than that, he was waving a pistol around. "When are you going to get this crap out of here?" he slurred. "Somebody is supposed to be here soon," I replied. David pushed the gun above his head and fired twice at the angels. "I want it gone now!" he roared. There was nowhere for me to hide. If he's going to kill me, I have no defense. Thankfully, David turned his heels and went back inside. 10 minutes later, 2 sheriff's cars pulled up. An officer from each car scrambled to grab their assault rifles, and then they squatted down around the boxes. After using bullhorns to warn David of the consequences, a very drunk moron emerged with empty hands above his head. Even though the helpers from the church arrived as promised, the scene was now cordoned off with yellow tape. I begged the guys to stay, but they left. The good news was that David was also gone. The deputies had arrested him for discharging his firearm. The hits just kept coming. As I needed to charge my phone, I sat in my car hooked to the USB port. I had plenty of battery, but noticed that there were no bars. The phone had worked fine earlier. When I tried to do anything, I received the no service little red box. "Damn it, Anton. How can we work this out if you keep doing things like this?" The neighbors, who had watched David being hauled off, had long ago dissipated. When I knocked on the first door, they simply told me, "Go away or we will call the police." I probably walked a mile before someone would let me make a call. The pastor said he would come to get me. When I made it back to David's place, 3 boys were going through my boxes. They got a big kick out of holding up my undergarments. "Hey, get away from there!" was about all I could do. They didn't appear to be very scared of me. "Model these for us, lady," they replied. I had nothing. In my condition, there's no way I could battle 3 kids, or for that matter, even 1. They got a big kick out of emptying my dainties onto the driveway. The sun was sinking in the western sky. Hopefully, the pastor gets here before David's wife. I haven't eaten all day and puking had left me a little dehydrated. Was I breaking the law being inside of the yellow tape? Would I get in more trouble if I helped myself to some of David's beer and snacks? Having that beer wasn't the smartest thing I've done today. Hell, have I done anything smart today? When Reverend Thomas tapped on his horn, I pulled my tear-soaked hands away from my face. I wobbled to his car, taking my purse, keys, phone, and briefcase with me. I was holding my high heels by the straps. Too bad I wasn't smart enough to grab a pair of tennis shoes. There had to be several to choose from in one of those boxes. "That's your stuff in the driveway, Leah?" he asked. "It's all of my belongings. Apparently my husband found out about my affair and emptied our house." In a quiet, condescending voice, he replied, "I see. Damn it. I need somebody to shout at me. I messed up. I know it." "You called from 2 different phone numbers. When I tried calling you back on the first number, it said that the phone number was no longer in service," he asked. "It stopped working shortly after I talked with you the first time. Anton's handiwork, I suspect." "Quite the mess you've made of your life, Leah. What are your plans?" he asked. "I don't know. I need to get my stuff out of that driveway, but it's inside the yellow tape, so I don't know the legalities," I answered. "I'll make a call and get some advice. Did you want to stop by your house and see what's left?" he asked. With tears leaking down my face, I answered, "Please." We rode in silence until the good Reverend pulled into my driveway. There were no lights on. My key still worked, but my heart bounced off of the empty floor. Everything was gone but the dust balls. The enormity of it knocked me to my knees. He's gone. We're done. And for what? "Reverend, I need to eat. Can I buy you dinner?" I asked. "A quick one. I have some marriage counseling sessions tonight. You and Anton should try to get on my calendar," he answered. I sobbed an unintelligible, "Will do." When I went to pay for dinner, my credit cards didn't work. Of course they didn't. Why should I be so stupid to think that Anton would forget about those? Fortunately, I had enough cash. Should I waste my time checking to see if my ATM card works? I did. It didn't. Borrowing an air mattress and some blankets from the Reverend, I spent the night in the echo chamber formerly known as my house. The pastor picked me up in the morning and allowed me to use his phone. Telling my parents what I'd done was very painful. I begged for their help. My father deferred to my mother. After we talked a bit longer, she said they would drive up tomorrow as my father had a doctor's appointment today. My parents did help me secure 2 rental vans. I assisted 2 young men from the church loading all of the boxes and furniture into the 2 vans. Many of my boxes had been looted. I don't know what Anton did with my jewelry. It was worth a bunch, but only time would tell if it was in one of the boxes. The entire time we were loading my things, a verbally abusive woman ripped me up one side and down the other. She made it very clear that she was David's soon-to-be ex-wife and that I should be very afraid. I believe her. She was very angry. After loading the vans, her driveway was clear. I backed my car out of David's garage. Life isn't difficult when things work. It is unbelievably difficult when nothing works. The young men followed me home, and an hour later I was alone with my belongings and my tears. According to the digital fuel gauge, I had 280 miles left before hitting empty. My first stop was the bank. Our accounts had a hold on them. My pleas for cash fell on deaf ears. If I had some money, they'd let me open my own account. This is like that chicken and egg thing. My last paycheck needs to go into an account which I can't open without that last paycheck. Why can't they just cut me a paper check? The next stop was the cell phone store. If I could provide a valid credit card, they would reinstate service on my previous number. I knew I had a credit card with a small limit, in my name only. The trouble was I never carried that card. I really needed to go through all of those boxes and see what was there. I spent the next few hours searching for that credit card. My jewelry was with my shoes. Eventually, I did find that credit card, and an hour later my cell phone service was working again. I left a voice message on Anton's phone. I seriously doubted that he would respond, but he proved me wrong when his ringtone played. "Anton, I'm sorry. Please believe me," I pleaded. "Sorry? Really? What exactly are you sorry about?" he asked. "Not being the wife I promised to be. We belong together," I cried. "Not happening. How many other times have you exposed me to some jerk's STDs?" he asked. "David is the only other man I've been with. We got too close at work and things just happened," I pleaded. "Well, I felt that if you were going to play house with David, then you might as well have all of those things you cried and moaned about until I got them for you." "I'm sorry, Anton. Where is your stuff?" I asked. "In storage. You can have the house. Hey, you can turn it into a cheating woman's house. Get it? A cheating women's house," he roared. "Anton, please, when are you coming home?" I asked. "Don't really know if I'll even come back to the States. Jeff Jenkins tells me you'll be served tomorrow," he replied. "Anton, I don't want a divorce. You know you'll have to pay me alimony now that I'm unemployed." "You keep thinking that, sweetheart. You trusted me too much. I had you sign a second mortgage application a few weeks ago. After getting the loan approved, I immediately converted all that cash into Bitcoin. Likewise, all of my retirement plans are coming with me. All of our accounts have holds on them. You'll eventually gain access to that money, but it will take time. You're welcome. I've quit my job and am starting a new life. This is the last phone call I'll make with this phone. Tag, you're it. It will take time, but you'll eventually find me cheating woman." "No, we can work this out, Anton," I pleaded. No response, so I tried again. "Anton!" Damn it. He disconnected. I called him back, but a strange voice answered. "Who's calling?" "Is Anton there?" I asked. "Who's Anton? Is that the guy who just gave me this phone? Are you the cheating woman he said would be calling? When do you want to get together, honey? He said you're not very good, but at least you're cheap." This time it was me hanging up. A minute later, Anton's phone called again. "Anton?" I asked. "No cheating, woman. Don't hang up on me. Do you still live at 1440 Jackson? Me and the boys are feeling frisky." I hung up as my heart started racing. Did this mean Anton wasn't really in London? He not only gave his phone to some sicko, but our address too? I called the police, who were less than concerned. Call them when someone is breaking in or at my door. I gave them Anton's cell phone number, but the officer claimed that it went to voicemail. Feeding myself from the Dollar Tree wasn't a very balanced diet, but it was cheap. While I choked down the food, a sedan pulled up. I raced upstairs and watched from the bedroom window. The car sat there for 5 minutes before leaving. I was terrified. One of the problems with having my cell phone number reinstated was that jerks like David could call me. It was around midnight and the jerk was drunk. It was somehow my fault that his wife was divorcing him. Fearing that gun he had brandished previously, I let him rant until he got bored and hung up. After days of resorting to crying, I was now stoic. Nothing seemed to matter enough to shed a tear. I was just beginning to pay the price. Dad helped me move my stuff to a storage unit. I was back living at home, only this time in the basement, as my former bedroom had been converted into a sewing room for my mom. It's been 2 years since that fateful day. Wherever Anton is, I wish him well. I screwed the pooch, but nothing like the number he did on me. Our house went into foreclosure, but at least I only owed a little after it settled. If I win the lottery, I may track him down, just so I can vent at him. I've vented at him about 1,000 times, to our wedding picture, that is. It helps me deal with the reality I dealt with myself. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I just got the private investigator report. This is the 4th investigation in as many years. Jason Thomas, the private investigator, handled this one. I had used 4 different private investigator firms in the last 4 years, using random cities and times, thinking my wife and her lover had fooled the previous ones, but this new investigator would find they're cheating. I just got off the phone with Mr. Thomas. He told me that his people here and his associates in Dallas had surveilled both my wife Molly and John Decker for a week, both when they were at their office the first 4 days of the week, and in Dallas where they attended a work seminar for 3 days. My wife Molly was the administrative assistant to John Decker, CEO of a fully owned subsidiary of a major international company. As an admin assistant, she generally traveled with him, and he traveled a lot. Mr. Thomas said he would send a written report, but in general he found. For the 4 days locally before their trip to Dallas, they were followed and observed. They had lunch together all 4 days, then immediately returned to work. On the second day, they stopped at a local bar after work. Each had 2 drinks, and then went to their respective homes. Their spouses were home when they got there, and we broke off surveillance, assuming the spouses would be aware of their activities until the next morning. On the other 3 days, they both went directly home from work, and their spouses were there when they arrived. The Dallas trip was slightly more interesting, but not much. Each of the 3 days they attended the work seminar as they should have. They ate dinner together each night and went out dancing. After about an hour of dancing and drinks, they went to their respective hotel rooms and didn't come out until morning. Their 2 rooms were separated by 10 rooms, so there was no connecting door between them. A camera pointed down the hall showed that neither left their room until the next morning. The only thing that was at all suspicious was their dancing. My agent described it as looking like 2 people in love. There was no inappropriate touching, but certainly a closeness, and he usually had his arm around her all the way back to their table. They were followed to the airport, and the agent made sure that they boarded and that the airplane did, in fact, leave for home. 4 private investigator reports at random dates over the last 4 years have found basically the same information. Nothing. Molly and I are both 36 and have been married for 15 years. We were exclusive for the last 3 years of college and married shortly after graduation. Molly is a doll, not beautiful, but would be considered pixie cute, with a fantastic 5 foot 6 inches body. She is very outgoing and people enjoy having her around. Her boss, John Decker, is about my size, 6 foot 1 inch, 190 pounds, but if it was between the 2 of us, John would get the attention of all the girls. He is quite an attractive man. I have talked to Molly a few times about her apparent closeness with John Decker. The first few times, she said there was nothing between them except work. She promised that she would never fool around behind my back and even offered to take a lie detector test anytime I wanted. She said he was just a coworker and a good friend. The last time we talked about it, she referred to him as a special friend. I guess he got a promotion. Molly and I have gone out for dinner and dancing a few times with John and his wife Gail. John and Molly talk to each other and dance with each other much more than they do with their spouses. One time, when John and Molly went out on the dance floor, I noticed Gail gave them a raised eyebrow as if saying, "What?" Again, I guess she notices their closeness also. I have talked to Molly about finding another job just for me because I am very jealous of her being so close to John. She says, "That's silly." She loves her job and tells me again that she would never go behind my back and that she would be willing to take a lie detector test. I have spent thousands of dollars on private investigators over 4 years and found nothing. Last night, Molly was sitting at the kitchen table when I walked by. In a more serious tone than usual, she said, "Tom, can I talk to you for a minute?" When I sat down, she said, "John and Gail have invited us to their lake house for the weekend. I told them I was sure we would love to go, but I would have to check with you. I think it would be great okay with you." The first thing that crossed my mind was, 5 days a week at work isn't enough. Now you want to be with him on the weekend too. I tried, but couldn't think of a reason not to go. With obvious displeasure, I said okay. Friday afternoon, Molly and I packed the car and headed to John and Gail's lake house. We had a map to show how to get there, but I tried to surprise her by asking, "Have you been there before?" She said she hadn't, but I'm not sure I believed her. We drove for about 50 miles, finally coming to the lake at about 4 o'clock. It took a while to find their house, but when we finally did, there were 4 people on the front porch waiting for us. The only one I knew was John. I assumed Gail was inside. In addition to John, the welcoming committee consisted of a very large, well-built man, a middle-aged woman who appeared to be his wife, and an extremely attractive 20-something woman. She had long red hair, and I would consider her to be beautiful. Everyone besides her had on shorts and a t-shirt. She had on a skimpy bikini. We parked and headed for the porch. After we were introduced to everyone, I asked John where Gail was. He said she wasn't there but gave no explanation as to why. It seemed a little strange that we came to visit John and Gail wasn't there. Probably because I had wondered for years about Molly and John's relationship, my spidey senses started getting active. Was John fooling around with this beautiful young woman? Did Gail find out? What does Molly know about this young lady? Molly didn't seem at all surprised to see her here. Molly and I were shown to our room. We dropped the small amount of luggage we brought and then joined the others in the great room. The building and the interior were very rustic and very large. I'd guess there were 5 bedrooms and as many baths. The very large man, introduced as Larry something, asked if I would like a beer. I said sure, and he motioned for me to follow him to the kitchen. He seemed very intent on getting me into a one-on-one conversation, so I talked to him for 10 to 15 minutes. He was a very pleasant man, but after a while I was ready to join the others. Strangely, as we came back into the great room, he loudly announced, "We're back." Even stranger, Molly and John were off in a corner, and I would swear they were surprised and just separating from a lover's hug. Both of them were red-faced and appeared to be stepping away from each other. I didn't like any part of what I'd seen so far. Gail's not here. Larry seemed to want to keep me talking in the kitchen. Who is the young, gorgeous girl? Molly seems to have been in an embrace with John. I had to ask Molly what was going on, so I started walking back to the kitchen and motioned for Molly to follow me. She had to see that I was at least confused and probably quite upset. Instead of following me into the kitchen, Molly stopped and asked John if there was someplace private where Molly and I could talk. No one seemed at all surprised at this request. My spidey senses were flaming at this point. John pointed out a room we could use, and Molly and I went in and closed the door. Molly, what in the world is going on? She had the expression of finally having to confront something that she was dreading talking about. Tom, I haven't been totally honest with you about this weekend, but please let me explain everything without interrupting. When I'm finished, I'll answer any question you have, and I'm sure you'll have many. First of all, Gail decided not to come this weekend. Gail, John, and I have had several meetings over lunch and dinner, planning this weekend. When I'm finished, I think you will see why you weren't invited to these meetings. Everything is basically Gail's idea, with some input from both John and me. John has accepted a promotion which will require a move to England. He and Gail will be moving in 2 weeks. His replacement will be a woman from the Cleveland office. I'm sure that John leaving, and a female replacement will please you. There are 3 things that I need to tell you about John and me. First of all, as I have always told you, John and I have never had an affair. We have never been in the same bed together. Secondly, and this is the hardest thing that I have ever had to tell you, I love you as much now as I ever have, but I also am in love with John. Let me emphasize, I didn't just say I love John, I said that I am in love with John. I couldn't be quiet any longer. I jumped to my feet and screamed. I can't believe it. You brought me to that man's house to tell me you're leaving me for that same man. I'm out of here. You can find your own way home. Oh, that's right, we don't have a home anymore. You're off to England with the man. I started to the door, as Molly grabbed my arm and yelled, "Please, Tom, that is not at all what I said. Please sit down and let me finish. I love you and I'm not leaving you ever, ever. You're my husband, and I will be with you until death do us part." I calmed just slightly and sat back down. Let me reiterate, everything is basically Gail's idea. I guess the next thing I should do, before continuing with why we are here this weekend, is tell you who the other people are and why they are here. The nice man that you talked to in the kitchen is Larry. He is head of security at our company and is only here to make sure everyone is happy. I broke in. So he is here to keep me in line, right? Molly didn't answer, just continued with introductions of the other people. Jackie, the beautiful girl, is here for you if you so desire. She is a sweetheart and also a high-end escort. The middle-aged lady Janet is actually Larry's wife and also a great cook. A light suddenly went on in my head. The rest of this charade all of a sudden became quite clear. I could see exactly what Molly, John, and Gail had planned. Molly knew that John would be out of her life after this weekend. The two lovers, John and Molly, will take the weekend to finally be together as lovers. After that, John and his wife Gail will be off on their adventure in England. On Sunday, after I watch my wife make love to someone else all weekend, she and I will hold hands as we skip merrily to our car and live happily ever after. Is this woman crazy? They brought Larry in to make sure I didn't hurt John or just happen to drown my unfaithful wife. Jackie is here to offer me companionship, with the same goal as Larry, but a little different approach. All of this is to give John and Molly a weekend of love and intimacy. All right, Molly, I don't agree with any of this nonsense. Where on earth is Gail? You say this is all her idea. Where is she? She decided that for her emotional well-being, it would be best for her not to be here. In return for the weekend, John has signed a post-nuptial agreement that if he and I have contact, of any kind, at any time in the future, John would get nothing in a divorce. Gail gets 100% of the assets. I have signed a similar paper for you. Both papers begin when John and Gail leave for England. Since John and I work together, both papers also stipulate no sexual or romantic contact between this Sunday evening and when they leave for England. Tom, I will truly be all yours after this weekend, and I swear to spend the rest of my life making up for the hurt I'm causing you now. Why am I here when Gail isn't? I asked. Easy. There is no way that you would agree to let me come to John's lake house without you. Same reason you weren't invited to the planning luncheons. You would have just said no to everything. And what if I just say no to the whole thing now and ask you to either join me for an immediate trip back home or you stay here with John and say goodbye to our marriage? I asked. Tom, it's not like that. Please understand that although you are my lifelong soulmate, I need this weekend with John for closure. Also, Gail is expecting a call from you. Since this is primarily her idea, she will explain everything to you. Her number is on the kitchen counter. Molly, I'm asking you one more time not to do this, I replied. Molly walked to me and gave a passionate kiss on my lips, then said, "It'll be okay, you'll see." Molly walked out of the room and took John by the hand as they disappeared from view. Larry kept his eye on me for the rest of the evening and constantly stayed between me and John. I thought seriously about just leaving and filing for divorce, but I had to know what this was all about and how far it would go. I found Jackie and told her, she is tempting, but I'm not going to help Molly shatter our wedding vows. Molly will have to do that all by herself. I told Jackie that, as far as I was concerned, she could go home, or if she is curious, she can stay and laugh at all the insanity. The next time I saw the lovers was at dinner. Janet obviously had been told where to seat everybody. John sat at the head of the table, Molly by him. Larry was between me and John with Jackie next to me. Janet, when she wasn't serving, sat across from her husband Larry. I assumed that by now my lovely wife had become an adulteress, thereby making me a cuckold. I noticed, probably at John's suggestion, that she was not wearing her wedding rings. The only thing I said through the whole meal was not good as I pointed out her bare finger. After dinner, Jackie put on a beautiful red bikini and went for a swim. I sat by the pool, rethinking my decision not to use her services. Then John and Molly came out hand in hand with swimsuits on. Larry sat by me and tried to start a conversation. It became quite evident that this whole charade had been choreographed. Shortly after everyone was around the pool, Molly came over and sat beside me. She leaned her head on my shoulder and said, "I love you, Tom. It'll all work out. We'll talk when we get home." I was thinking, this woman is nuts, as I quickly got up and walked away, telling her loud enough for all to hear, "Go away." I avoided everyone for the rest of the evening, except Larry, of course. He was always somewhere off in the distance, with his eye on me. I liked Larry. Other times we could be friends. I decided to call Gail. Maybe she could shed some light on this train wreck. She must have been expecting me. She answered on the first ring. She must have also added me to her caller ID. With a sad voice, she said, "How is this whole sad affair going? Are you still at the lake house?" "Gail, what on earth caused you to come up with this disaster?" "I don't know about you and John, but this is going to ruin my marriage to Molly," I replied. "Tom, let me explain my thinking. I admit that I was thinking of my own marriage to John. I didn't give a lot of thought to you and Molly. I think that women can move forward and forgive an affair more easily than men can. I know that John deeply loves Molly and has suffered for 4 years with her refusal of intimacy. She always told him that she wouldn't have a cheap affair behind your back. I offered them a compromise, a weekend of love, in exchange for not contacting each other ever again. I could just see them, thousands of miles apart, but in constant communication. I was afraid of where that might lead. If they ever communicate in the future, in any way it could financially destroy each of them. I didn't invite you to the planning luncheons because you would just say no to everything. On entering our bedroom, I discovered, not surprisingly, that the only luggage there was mine. Molly's stuff had been moved, so it was no longer our bedroom, just my bedroom. It made me very sad to think that Molly and John were now in their bedroom. Lying in bed, I kept wondering how Molly could think that after this weekend, she and I could just magically resume our loving relationship. All I could assume is that their 4-year emotional affair, without it being a sexual affair, has them thinking that the world owes them, and everyone will understand their needs. About midnight, Jackie knocked on the door and came in to ask if I was all right. She also inferred that she was still available if needed. I thanked her for the offer and told her my refusal was one of the hardest things I have ever done, but no thanks. She said that her room assignment was originally the same as mine, but that she had found an unassigned room. I couldn't sleep at all, so I went out by the pool. The hot tub was separated from the pool by a 3-foot rock wall, so I found a lounge chair and dragged it next to the hot tub. The sound of the water was soothing, and I eventually fell asleep. I slept for an hour or so, then was awakened by voices approaching the pool. I immediately recognized the voices of the two lovers. They couldn't see me, but I was only 10 feet away, hidden behind the short rock wall. Molly said, "Oh, John, this is so wonderful. I have loved you for so long, and I'm finally able to show you how much. I'm going to miss you, but we have 2 days to get in a lifetime of love. Let's get naked and make love in the pool. Get your suit off. I'll get us a couple of drinks." Molly got up and went to the kitchen for drinks. I felt like throwing up. I could see my whole life going to ruin because of this man. I hated him and hated Molly for the absolute total void that I was feeling. John was out of his suit waiting for Molly when I came up behind him. I yelled loud enough for everyone in the house to hear me, "Hey, Jerk." Jerk seemed to have become my nickname for him. As he turned, I kicked him, aiming for his lower region, hoping to totally spoil his weekend of being with my wife. He hadn't fully turned toward me, so I caught him in the lower abdomen. I was barefoot, so if I had been on target and hit the pelvic bone rather than the soft abdomen, I probably would have broken a couple of toes. He doubled over and fell backward into the pool. I knew Larry would be out of bed and on his way soon, but I didn't think there would be a physical confrontation with Larry. He might call me a few names but wouldn't want to face assault charges, and anyway, the damage to his boss had already been done, and Larry wouldn't be looking for revenge. Filed away in my mind was the fact that Molly came running to see if John was hurt, but didn't bother checking on me. I had seen enough. I got my bag, got in my car, and headed home. I did one thing before leaving, though. I took my wedding ring off and left it on the kitchen counter. Molly would maybe understand just how much she had hurt me. I spent the rest of the weekend sitting at home in my recliner, staring at the TV. I really didn't pay much attention to what was on. My mind was busy with pictures of my lovely wife with that jerk John. Since I had been to the lake house and knew the layout, I could picture them in various rooms, embracing with a big smile, kissing as they held each other overlooking the lake. In bed together with him doing things only I should be doing, and her doing things that should be only for me. I wondered what she would say when she came home, if she came home. I really wished she wouldn't come home, but I don't know where else she would go. Sunday evening, a car pulled up and stopped in front of my house. It was John and Molly. They sat and held hands and talked for what must have been 15 minutes, occasionally kissing. Finally, he got out with the intention of coming around to open her car door. He apparently had asked Molly to wait and let him come around and open her door, obviously for my benefit. I think he forgot that the human body stiffens up after an injury, and then a long ride. He was wincing getting out of his door from the kick I had given him 2 days earlier. He needed to hold on to the 2 car fenders to work his way around to her side. He finally got to her side and opened her car door, looking quite uncomfortable. He helped Molly out of the car. It was more that Molly helped John get out of the car. I was pleased that my parting shot at the lake house obviously had hindered their love-making. This was all for my benefit, to show me that he was giving her back to me after she had stayed with him when she had a choice of him or me at the lake house. They held each other like lovers, not caring what I or the neighbors might think. I had had enough. I opened the front door and took a step toward John. If you aren't out of here in 5 seconds, I'm going to do more than just kick you out. John limped quickly back to his car and drove away. I walked back into the house and sat in my recliner. Molly hadn't even watched him drive away. She walked in the front door wearing a fake smile. "I'm home, honey." Her attitude seemed so ridiculous, acting like she was just coming home from an evening out with the girls. I just ignored her and turned up the TV. She came over and tried to kiss me, but I pushed her away. The only thing I said to her was, "You're in the guest bedroom from now on. I'm going to a lawyer tomorrow and start the paperwork for a legal separation. Eventually, one of us will meet someone and want a divorce, but for now, we can coexist here. You can be free to replace your lost lover with whoever you want." I went back to watching TV. Molly started sobbing as she went up the steps. In one weekend, she had lost her lover and her husband. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.